Marcus Thornton had learned to measure time in medical appointments. Tuesdays were cardiology. Thursdays, pulmonology. Every other Friday, the geneticist who spoke in careful euphemisms about his daughter's progressive condition. At 9 years old, Sophia had a heart that worked too hard and lungs that worked too little, the result of a rare genetic disorder with a name Marcus could never say without his voice cracking. The doctors gave timelines and maybes and probablys, never promises. So Marcus did what he knew how to do. He took control of what he could. The cameras were medical grade, installed by a private security firm under the guise of comprehensive home monitoring. 23 cameras covered every angle of the penthouse, the bedroom where Sophia slept with oxygen tubes threading across her pillow. The sunroom where she did schoolwork between breathing treatments. The kitchen where meals were prepared according to strict dietary restrictions. Marcus told himself it was necessary. Sophia was fragile. The last nanny had given her regular milk instead of the lactose-free alternative, triggering an inflammation that put her in the hospital for a week. The one before that had missed signs of respiratory distress while scrolling through her phone. He couldn't afford mistakes. Not when every mistake shortened an already uncertain timeline. The new nanny arrived on a Monday. Her name was Miriam, a woman in her 60s with silver hair pulled into a practical bun and references from families Marcus's investigator had verified twice. During the interview, she sat with her back straight, hands folded, answering his questions with polite precision. She didn't flinch at the medical equipment list or the emergency protocol binder. She asked only one question at the end. Does Sophia know she's sick, or does she know she's Sophia? Marcus didn't understand the question. He said, both, I suppose, and hired her anyway. The first 2 weeks were unremarkable. Miriam followed every protocol, logged every medication, documented every vital sign in the leather-bound journal Marcus reviewed each night. Sophia tolerated her the way she tolerated most things, with quiet compliance and little warmth. The girl had learned early that doctors and caregivers came and went, that getting attached meant getting hurt. Marcus recognized the defense mechanism because he'd built the same walls himself after his wife left, unable to bear watching their daughter fade slowly. He told himself Sophia was safer this way. Emotions were liabilities. But then Marcus noticed something odd in the daily reports. Miriam had started noting things that weren't medical. Sophia laughed at a joke about penguins today. Sophia asked 3 questions about thunderstorms. Sophia drew a picture of a tree with purple. Leaves. Marcus frowned at these entries. They weren't relevant data. They didn't track decline or improvement. They were just observations. That Friday night, restless and unable to focus on the merger document spread across his desk, Marcus opened the camera feeds. He told himself he was doing a routine check. The timestamp read 8:47 p.m. past Sophia's bedtime. But the bedroom camera showed his daughter still awake, propped up on pillows, with Miriam sitting on the floor beside the bed. Not in the chair. On the floor. Marcus leaned forward, adjusting the volume. Tell me again, Sophia was saying, her voice small but insistent. Miriam smiled. When I was your age, I had scarlet fever. Do you know what that is? Sophia shook her head. It's an old-fashioned sickness that made me very weak. I missed an entire year of school. I couldn't run or play, and some days I couldn't even sit up to eat. Miriam's voice was steady, matter of fact. I thought I'd never be strong again. Marcus's chest tightened. This wasn't protocol. This was personal history, irrelevant to Sophia's care. But you got better, Sophia said quietly. Miriam paused, and Marcus saw something flicker across her face, not dishonesty, but careful truth. My body got stronger, yes, but Sophia. That's not actually what I'm telling you. Sophia's brow furrowed. I'm telling you that the year I was sick, I learned to notice things. The way dust moves in sunlight. The sound of rain on windows. The exact color of my mother's eyes when she read to me. Miriam reached up and gently adjusted Sophia's oxygen line. Being sick didn't make me less. It made me pay attention differently. And that as she tapped Sophia's hand softly, that became my superpower. Marcus felt something crack inside his chest. Over the next several days, he watched more. He saw Miriam teaching Sophia to fold origami cranes during breathing treatments, transforming medical necessity into art. He saw her bring a potted herb garden to the sunroom, letting Sophia touch basil and rosemary and mint, narrating their stories. "This basil came from seeds my grandmother brought from Sicily," Miriam said. "It survived the journey across an ocean. Plants are tougher than they look." The metaphor wasn't subtle, but Sophia glowed with something Marcus hadn't seen in months: curiosity. Then came the incident that changed everything. It was a Tuesday afternoon. Marcus was in back-to-back board meetings when his phone buzzed with a medical alert. Sophia's oxygen saturation had dropped below threshold. His heart hammering, he opened the camera feed, ready to call 911. But Miriam was already there, calm and focused. She had positioned Sophia upright, adjusted the oxygen flow, and was speaking in a low, steady voice. "Breathe with me, sweetheart. In through your nose, slow, like you're smelling those herbs. Out through your mouth, like you're blowing on hot soup." Sophia's eyes were wide with fear, but she matched Miriam's rhythm. "Good. Again, you're doing it. Your body knows what to do. Trust it." The numbers on the monitor began to climb. 67. 72, 80. Miriam didn't stop coaching, didn't break eye contact, didn't let panic into her voice when the numbers stabilized at 91. Sophia slunk back against the pillows, exhausted. Marcus expected Miriam to reach for the phone, to call him or the doctor. Instead, she stroked Sophia's hair and whispered, "You were so brave." "Do you know that? Not because you didn't get scared, because you trusted yourself even when you were." Sophia's lip trembled. "I thought I was going to die." Miriam didn't flinch. "I know. That was really scary. Are you going to tell my dad?" "Yes," Miriam said gently. "Because he loves you and needs to know." But Sophia, she waited until the girl met her eyes. "You handled it." "Not the machine, not me, you." Marcus sat frozen in his office, watching his daughter nod slowly, something like pride flickering across her pale face. The call from Miriam came 3 minutes later. She reported the incident with clinical precision, but added, "Sophia was remarkable. I think she's stronger than she knows." That night, Marcus came home early. He found Miriam reading the incident report into the log, her handwriting precise. He stood in the doorway of the kitchen, and when she looked up, he said, "I have cameras." Miriam set down her pen. "I know." Marcus blinked. "You know?" "I've worked in enough wealthy homes to recognize the signs. Small lens glints. Wi-Fi boosters in odd places." She folded her hands. "I assumed you'd tell me when you were ready. You're not angry?" Miriam tilted her head. "Are you watching because you don't trust me, or because you're afraid?" The question landed like a punch. Marcus sank into the chair across from her. "I can't lose her." "I know," Miriam said softly. "But Marcus, it was the first time she'd used his first name. You're so busy protecting her from dying that you're forgetting to let her live." The words should have felt like an attack. Instead, they felt like absolution. Marcus's voice cracked. "I don't know how to do that. Everything feels dangerous." Miriam reached across the table and placed her weathered hand over his. "Then let me show you." Not as her nanny. As someone who understands that time isn't measured in how long we get, but in how much we notice. Over the following weeks, Marcus began to watch the cameras differently, not as surveillance, but as a window into a life he'd been terrified to see. He watched Sophia paint with watercolors, her breathing tube occasionally getting caught in her hair, laughing as Miriam helped her untangle it. He watched them build a blanket fort in the living room, Sophia's oxygen tank tucked inside like a sleeping dragon they'd tamed. He watched his daughter ask Miriam hard questions. "Will I ever get married? Will I go to college?" And Miriam answer with honesty wrapped in hope. "I don't know what your body will do, but I know who you are. And that person? She's going to touch lives no matter how long or short her road is." One evening, Marcus shut off his laptop, walked into the sunroom where Sophia was reading, and simply sat down beside her. No medical checklist. No progress assessment. Just presence. Sophia looked up, surprised. "Dad?" "Tell me about your book," he said. She hesitated, then began to talk about characters and plot twists and her theories about what might happen next. Marcus listened, really listened, and realized he couldn't remember the last time he'd heard her voice talk about something other than symptoms. When Miriam appeared with evening medication, she caught Marcus's eye and smiled a small, knowing expression that said, "Asterisk you're learning, asterisk the cameras still run, Marcus still checks them, but now." When he opens the feeds, he's not looking for danger, he's looking for moments, Sophia's smile, the way her hands move when. She's excited, the sound of her humming while Miriam braids her hair. He's learning to see his daughter not as a medical emergency waiting to happen, but as a person living fully in whatever time she has. And in the quiet hours, when fear still grips him, Marcus remembers Miriam's words, "Time isn't measured in how long we get, but in how much we notice." If this story moved you, if you believe that the richest life isn't the longest but the most present, subscribe to this channel. Because stories like these remind us that love isn't about control, it's about witness.